Okay. Ready? Go. So I'm going to talk today about fashion. Fashion is something that I really, really love, and it's pretty much what I've done every one of my Better Culture talks about, of which I've done about 8 now. So when I was starting to think of what to do, I had a total blank. And my mind was a blank because I feel like I've covered a lot of interesting things about fashion. So my thought was, well, actually, what's the laziest, easiest, most interesting way I can do this presentation? And my thought was, well, why don't I just ask the audience? So I asked my friends and the people who follow me on Twitter to ask me anything they wanted about fashion. So it could be something really small, or it could be something massive, and I have got some interesting questions. So what I'm going to do in this presentation is essentially answer as many questions as possible. So there's about 7 of them. So yeah, they're about fashion, some of them about clothes, some of them about politics, who knows. But I thought I'd start with a nice easy one from a little girl called Maya, who's just aged 5. So Maya's question was, what is fashion? Thanks, Maya. Nice and simple for me to answer in 30 seconds. So let's consider fashion. A lot of people would say it's a waste of time, or they might say it's an industry, but I might say it's an ecosystem. So in an ecosystem, there's lots of different parts, and all those parts contribute to the whole to help perpetuate that ecosystem. And in fashion, there's lots of different elements that work together, but the ecosystem has to produce something. And what fashion produces is cultural products, which is clothes, but also it might be trends or models or faces. So Maya also asked, why do we need it? Maya, you're 5, you don't need fashion. Please leave me alone. Why do we need it as a human race? Well, we don't really. On Maslow's hierarchy of needs, fashion ain't going to be on there. However, why do we need any form of cultural production? It's to help express ourselves, to give ourselves identities, to form social groupings that we can identify each other. So fashion as well is an incredibly important economic force in the world. So my friend Morticia asked, is it true that every fashion trend comes around more than once? My argument would be no. It looks like they do, but every time there's a sort of mutation every time. But the longer you live, the more mutations you will be able to link together, because you'll be able to see that patterns happen a lot. So we draw inspiration from lots of different eras. So while it might not seem that the exact same trend comes around more than once, you'll be able to see the little nuances, the little cultural echoes that come around time and again. My friend Martin asked, how can men wear nice hats without looking like a member of a boy band or a fashion blogger? I should note at this point that Martin actually looks like a member of a boy band and a fashion blogger at the same time. My advice here would be stay away from beanies, because they generally just look a bit like louche. Go for a nice fedora, possibly, and kind of make like a 1940s film star would be a good example. Or just do what Ivor does and just wear a hat all the time, even when it's indoors. My mum asked, why is fashion aimed at bodies that are in the minority, or are the minority? Now, my mum classified that as very, very tall, very, very thin, blonde, white, and with high cheekbones. So my argument is that fashion isn't aimed at anyone in particular. It's aimed at a person that doesn't exist. And if you consider fashion to be an ecosystem, then in that ecosystem there's lots of different bits with lots of different aims. The problem is that we have a culture that is biased towards a certain body type. My friend Nick asked, men in shorts, what's that about? Unless you're an Italian rugby player, I don't really think there's an excuse to wear shorts, unless it's very, very hot, because the alternative is linen trousers, and frankly no one looks good in those. But if you can avoid the board short, that would be preferable, because no one really likes just a calf, just a skinny white calf by itself. Not just by itself, a pair of them attached to a human. My friend Imran asked, what are the new technologies and cultures you think will influence fashion in the coming years? Again, thanks for that question. So quickly, people think wearables are really important. I think they could be interesting, but no one's really defined what the point of them is yet, so I'm not sure what they mean for fashion. I think technology-wise, for production, it will be really important. As we see resources go down, people will need to find new innovative ways to produce clothes. Culture-wise, we're kind of cannibalising the earth at the moment, culturally, so I think microcultures will become really important. However, the important thing for me in this presentation is, what do you think? So the whole point of fashion isn't just it's about clothes, it's about superficial things. It's about questioning and interrogating what's behind those clothes. So as you can see, people do have deep thoughts about what we'd consider to be something on the surface. So maybe next time, ask yourself a few questions. You might not get any answers, but you might understand a bit more why you wear what you wear.